Hey everyone, it's Julian, and today I'm going to be making a Bibi and PAWSA style tech house track from start to finish. If you want to hear the finished track, you can skip to the timestamp at the top of the description, or somebody will have left it in the comments. I'll give you a moment to do that now. And yeah, so before I get started, you can get the project file and samples and MIDI and presets and everything that you just heard that I'm about to create in this video in the description. And if you're a patron on my Patreon, check there because it's already available. And yeah, let's get started. So what we're going to start with here is I have a few drum samples pulled up. I'm going to get a kick. I'm going to use this kick. So you can that's a pretty good style of kick for this type of stuff. You usually want like this more kind of like, boomy, punchy kick. It's an interesting thing here, and you're going to see this as we go in and start to work on stuff, but it's almost like you want it to be like boomy, but just not too boomy. Like obviously, you wouldn't want to use like a techno kick or something like that. That'd be too boomy. But you want something more like this where it still has that nice bass to it, but it's still got like, it's not going to be too long. It's not going to get in the way of the bass line pretty much. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to put in quarter notes with this. There we go. Let's go to 126 BPM. Usually like 125, 126, 127. I find to be good for these types of tracks. You don't want to do like 122 or something like that. You want it to be a little bit more energetic. So 126 is good. Let's make this an 8-bar loop. Cool. And I'm going to process this a little. Let's put some drum bus on it. Let's turn the transients up a little bit. That sounds tight. And then let's also get an EQ8 on there, and I'll just cut out some low mid-range. Okay, sounding good. I like to check in on the monitors. It's honestly good to do both. Like, obviously, usually when I'm making music, I use monitors, so I'm just very used to that, so I know what it's supposed to sound like on that. But it is good to go back and forth. Like, even if you are mostly using headphones or mostly using monitors, it's good to go back and forth like that, because if it sounds good on one thing, it may not sound good on another. And you're really only going to know what the track actually sounds like when you hear it on multiple things, if that makes any sense. So, alright, sounding good so far. Let's turn this kick down just a little. There we go. And the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to make a bass. So I'm going to get operator for this. I like using FM synthesis for these style of bass lines. Basically, you want this very, like, deep, kind of subby bass, like, almost like just a sine wave. But the reason why you don't want to just use a sine wave is this. If I pull up a spectrum, you can see, when I play just the sine wave on its own, we're just getting this point here. This is the fundamental harmonic. This is what a sine wave is. It's only the fundamental harmonic. And as you can tell with a sine wave, especially when you play lower notes, you really only feel it. You're not really hearing it. It's just like that feeling of like the really low bass. And then when you play up higher, you can hear it. But in those lower ranges, you're not really going to feel it. And this is why, or you're not really going to hear it. And this is why, because you're only hearing that fundamental harmonic. If we start bringing in some of this FM from just another sine wave here, you see how all those new points open up on the spectrum? And you can really like hear it now as well as still feel the powerful bass. There you go. That's what you want. This is what's going to enable you to hear it like on iPhone speakers or on like even just like laptop speakers or, it makes it more audible and less like something that you can just feel. And it's not even just about it being audible. Like, I personally think this sounds fatter than the sine wave, even if the sine wave was maybe a little bassier. Like, that just sounds a lot fatter to my ears. But, well, that sounds pretty good. I'll take this, turn it up a little bit more. Alright, let's put in some notes here. That's good for now. I'm going to tweak it a bit more. But for now, we can make some notes. I'm pretty sure that this kick is in G sharp. Yep, there we go. A flat, same thing. So, we're going to go in here and start putting in some notes. Alright, that sounds cool. So I like to, as you can hear, I like to take the bass line and pitch it up. This is something I learned from making like hip hop beats, actually, like working with the 808s and stuff. It's very similar. It's like you take it and pitch it up a little bit when you're actually working on the notes. You can actually hear what's going on, and then like, so you know, sometimes if you make the bass line in the lower ranges, you can't hear. There might be a note every now and then that's like out of key or something like that. So it's just a good way to do it. Well, that sounds cool. I'm going to go into the synth here and turn on some glide. We're going to set the voices to 1, making it monophonic, meaning the synth can only play one note at a time. And then we're going to turn on this glide here, and I'm going to turn the time up a bunch. And so the glide makes it slide between notes like that. And I want like a really slow one, like maybe not quite that slow, but like that, maybe a little bit. And there we go, like that. So then on this first note here, we're just going to do a little slide here. Yeah, there we go. Kind of gives it like something cool at the start of the bar there. Let's turn up the time a little bit. That sounds pretty cool. So then what I'm going to do now is we're going to go through and we're going to make all the lengths of these good. You notice I did this a little bit in the beginning, but still not as much as I would like it to be. Like when we have these notes here where they're not quite touching each other, that's really good for the group because you get that like burr, burr, burr. It's very like staccato like that. So we're going to do some more of that. I'm going to go through and like let's shorten this one. Let's shorten all of these for sure. Shorten this one a little as well. Yeah, and you can hear what that's doing. Alright, sounds good. And then the other thing that we're going to do here is we're going to take all the 16th notes. So like this one, all of these that happen on 16th notes here. And then we're just going to push those back a little bit, like that pretty much. And you can hear, there we go, we have a lot more swing. Now we can even do a bit less. With this style, it's not the most swung, but the swing is definitely important. If you just have it right on the 16th note, it's not going to sound right. So the key is just a really subtle swing like I'm doing. Alright, sounds good. Also, for the notes with this, the notes aren't that complicated. It might seem kind of strange that I'm just jumping around the keyboard here without really thinking about it, but basically what I'm doing here is I'm just following like simple G sharp sort of chord shape stuff. Like we have G sharp here, another G sharp an octave down, and then we have F sharp. That's just technically the ninth in this case. So like that would be, or excuse me, that would be the minor seventh. So, you know, it's just kind of like stuff in the scale. We have this D sharp here. That's the fifth, just 7 notes up from the root. It's just like following stuff like that. It's not that hard. You really just want to anchor yourself to the root note with this style, with these bass lines, I find. Alright, sounds good. Let's check this out on the monitors for a moment. Nice. So just went in and did some extra stuff. You can see I sort of like optimized the notes a little bit. The thing that I'm really trying to do here is not so much I'm trying to make the most complex, you know, crazy bass line. It's more like I'm trying to find the simplest thing that is going to work as well as something that's complex, if that makes any sense. Like, I'm trying to find the simplest combination of basically what you're seeing here that's going to communicate the point. And like you can see, I was kind of refining that here. Like we had, for example, 3 notes here was like do-do-do, but I just made that 2 notes. And honestly, like, it sounds pretty much the same. It's just about getting it to be like less muddy. Like, again, with this style, you really need to focus on simplicity because your kick is so bassy. On top of a bass line, which is so deep and subby. It's like, yeah, it's really important to focus on simplicity there with the notes. I also added in some more FM from the third oscillator. You know, just trying to make it like deep, but still have that kind of tone to it. And then I also put a bit of drum bus on there, just fattening it up. That's a good technique. I have this EQ8 here, just giving it a small low-end boost. And I also have a cut at 100 hertz. This is really important. Whenever you make a bass like this, it tends to have a lot around 100 hertz. Like you probably saw when I put this EQ8 on. If I get another spectrum and turn that off, you can see like that's one of the loudest parts in the sound. And when I turn that off, it doesn't blend as well with the kicks. So we just cut that a little bit because 100 hertz is usually where the kick is hitting. That's a pretty standard technique. And then I also sidechain into the kick a little bit, you know. This is just kind of another thing with like optimizing it. It's like I could technically not have it sidechain, but by sidechaining it, it just makes it a lot cleaner. It allows me to kind of like have the bass at the loudest possible volume, if that makes any sense. Like without sidechaining it, I have to turn it down a lot. But with the sidechain, I can still get that same bass and get it louder. And just overall fatter sounding in the mix. So I'm going to put these in a group and do a bit of group processing on the monitors. put a bit of saturator on here. You can see I was going between the drum bus and the saturator. I tend to do that, like, I like to see which one is going to sound best with each particular thing. But yeah, I got that up. I've got the drive up a little bit. You don't want to do a whole lot with this. A little bit goes a long way. Like, if I turn this off and then on again, you can hear, like, just this little bit is all we need to just glue the kick and the bass together. And then I've also got this EQ8 just cutting out a little bit of low mid-range as well as giving it a little bit of a line boost. And alright, sounds pretty good. So now we really have, like, the foundation of our track. I talk about this a lot in my house videos, but whenever you're making house music or techno or anything like this, like, just dance music in general, I really like to just start with the kick and the bass groove. Because, like, this really is the foundation of the track, and it's going to make it so much easier to put everything else together now. So, from here, I'm going to add in some drums. Like, I have some hi-hats here. Let's get one of these. I'll use this one as, like, our main one. Alright, sounds cool. We can also get this clap in here. Just like sort of getting a few things together here. Building it up slowly. Alright, we'll put the clap in like that. Sounds cool. And then I'm going to get one of these other hi-hats. Let's use this one. So just kind of add in a few extra little like percussive notes here and there. Nice, and then I'll get this little shaker here, and we'll do one of these. Yeah, there we go. Again, I'm just trying to keep it subtle. Like, it was kind of like with the bass line. I feel like you want to communicate the most with as little as possible with this style. So it's like these hi-hats aren't crazy. They're not doing too much, but they're just adding a little bit. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to put in one more because I have this other hi-hat here, which is this one. And we're going to hold on to this one. I'm going to put it in playing 16th notes here, just like tick, 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 tick. I might switch it so it's just playing on the, like, every other 16th note. We'll see. But I just want, like, one more little kind of hi-hat in here. And this will come in, we'll probably do this, like, once I start arranging the track, I'll probably have, like, one part where it's like this, and then one part where this comes in, you know. Pretty standard stuff there. Maybe that swing is a little bit too much. Yeah, that's cool. The hi-hats are where this kind of like minor swing I was talking about really comes through, I noticed too. Like, when I was really trying to break down these style of tracks, like, they really do a good job of just getting like that. Like I said, like, it's a really, really subtle swing like this. But it's still like, it's still something. Like, it still doesn't sound the same as if you just go tick, 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 tick. Alright, there we go. That sounds tight. Let's copy that over. Copy it over a bunch more times. And like I said, this will just be in here kind of like as like a shaker type of layer that will come in maybe like in the second half of the drop or something like that. Let's shorten that a little. Alright, sounds beautiful. So, let's put all that percussion into a group. I'm going to just, group it all together here. Nice. So I processed up the percussion a bit. You can see I put a bit of drum bass on there. We can even do a little bit more. That sounds cool. But yeah, I got the drum bass on there, and then I also add a little bit of EQ8. This is just kind of like, you know, to clean it up a little bit. It just cuts out the low end. I've also got a high end booster. So if I turn this off and then turn it on, you can hear it sounds a lot more crisp when I add that EQ8. Alright, sounds cool. And then I was also going to the kick there. I turned up the drum bass settings a little bit. And then I also added in those little extra notes. I noticed this is something that, especially Michael Bibi does. PAWSA does this a little bit as well. I mean, a lot of tech house producers do this. But they really do a good job of bringing their tracks to life because they'll have the kick. You know, usually you would just have the kick go doom, 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 the whole way through. In these tracks, a lot of times, the kick will do something like this. In the first bar, it'll do that. And then in the second bar, it'll do something like that. So it kind of brings the track to life because, again, you're just used to the kick going doom, 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 doom. And it makes it so much more interesting. So, sounds good. I'm going to put a small amount of reverb on the percussion as well. Alright, sounds good. So the groove is sounding pretty tight at this point. Let's put this down to like, there we go. Just that really, really subtle reverb. It gives it a little bit of space. You just gotta make sure it's not too much. Alright, let's name this group low end, and let's name this group percussion. And then I'm gonna make like some extra sort of synth layers. Like we need something other than just the kick and the bass and the percussion. So let's pull up analog since I already used operator. And I just want to make something. I mean, a lot of times they would have vocal samples for the sake of not getting any issues with selling this track and with selling this project file. I'm not using vocal samples, but we can make something with a synth. They do that a lot as well, like maybe some kind of a cool stab. Yeah, that's cool. And then I'm going to obviously work on that sound a bit more. But let's make like one more little sound for that second part there. Cool, and this one we'll just make like a little FM stab. I like to kind of sketch it out quickly, you know, like I'll do something like this, like just get an idea for the sound. Like this one, I definitely want like that big sound wave chord stab, and then this one, I want a little FM stab. I'm not going to try to just throw them all together at once. I'm just going to sort of sketch it out, so I got the idea in there, and then it's more like we're trying to chip away at it as opposed to just get it all in one place at one time, and that tends to make you frustrated, you know? If you kind of focus more on just chipping away at it, it's a bit more manageable of a process, and it doesn't seem so scary when you're going from nothing to a finished sound. Let's put some fast chorus on there. That sounds really cool. Let's put a bit of echo on there as well. I'm going to unsync it. Sounds cool. Let's put some drum bass on that. Just like weird sounds, you know, it's not even so much meant to be like a super obvious synth stab as much as it is just meant to be like, again, like some nice ear candy. It's like we need to have something in there that isn't just the kick and the bass. Alright, now let's work with this sound a bit. Switch the second one to a square wave, and I'll detune these. Put it through the low pass. We'll give it some unison as well. I like how quick that is. I actually wasn't aiming for that originally, but that does sound cool. I was just like, bling. Let's give it some chorus as well. Yeah, nice. Let's put a drum bus on there. I really like drum bus because it's good for just getting like away from that dry synth sound. I say this a lot in my videos, but like a lot of times what I find when people send in demos to me, as well as just when I'm making my own tracks, is like one of the biggest hurdles to get over is getting from like just dry, clean sounds coming out of a synth to something that has character and something that's exciting and something that has power to it and some texture. And drum bus is just such a good like one-stop shop for doing that. Like it just does it. Like if you know how to work with it, you can really get it to beef your sounds up. Let's put a bit of echo on this one. I'm gonna use try 16th notes. I never do that. And then we'll do that the second time. Okay, cool. So let's consolidate those. So now we got those. I'm going to make one more thing here. I'm going to grab this choir sample. This is one of my own. And we're going to make like a drone. This isn't necessarily going to be through every part of the track. I think really you need, with this style, you want to focus on the kick and the bass and the drums and stuff like that. So even like these are like a bit of extra stuff. So this really, like, we're not going to have this all at once is basically what I'm saying. But it is a good thing to have. I'm going to turn on this loop here. We're going to turn on the length and turn up the start. And then let's turn up this fade. Now we have a perfect loop. And yeah, it's just like one of my samples, like I said. But I think this will be good for the breaks. Like, it'll be good to have in there. That's very high. Copy the side chain from the kick. Put it there. Put a bit of drum bus on that, because even this needs to be fat and full sounding. And we'll also give it some chorus and some reverb. Okay, cool. So we have a nice thing going on here. So let's start off arranging this. I'm gonna grab everything and cut it and paste it over here. And I'm actually going to start with the drop here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this choir sample and just move it over here And what we're going to do, delete it in here. What we're going to do is, for the arrangement of the drop, I'm going to go through and elaborate on this at some point and, add little fills and stuff like that. But what I want to do for this drop is in the first half, we're going to have, so we're not going to have this hi-hat. And we're going to have just the bass and the drums. And then when the second half comes, like let's say we just cut out the bass right at the, or the kick right at the end there. Then that stuff comes in. So, alright, sounds good. So, let's start with the kick here. And we'll get the clap, and we'll get the main hi-hat. I did those out of order. Alright, sounds cool. And then we'll start with just the normal kick too, like just playing quarter notes, no cool. Do, 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 do. Cool, so pretty standard little intro here. In this part, we'll get the cool kick pattern and the bass. It's not going to be the full bass pattern, though. I'll show you what I mean. Like, we're going to use this as a template, but it's not going to be the full bass that you hear in the drop. Like, as a matter of fact, let me just... Okay, cool, yeah, so you can hear it's not the full pattern, it's just giving us something so that, like, at this point, it's basically not going to be just the kick and the drums, right? Like, we have something else in the rhythm section here. I'm also going to start bringing in the choir here. This is where we can have a drone like this because it helps to fill it out. Let's get a low-pass filter, and we're just going to automate that to go up during this part. And let's hear how that sounds going into that next part really quick, actually, because that's going to determine how I automate this. Like, I'm trying to see if I should... Okay, let's keep the drums going in that break there. That sounds cool. Alright, we're going to keep that going in there. Okay, so I think I'm going to have this bass keep going into here. That sounds cool. Okay, yeah, so the break is going to be that long. So let's automate this now really quick like I was saying. So that's just really slowly coming in there. Okay, let's do this. And then at the end of this part, it's going to filter up like that with this high pass filter. next thing I'm gonna add here is I have this little snare prepared here in the sample pack. There we go. And we're gonna make a little snare build. I'm just gonna use it in this part, but we're gonna just do something like this. Alright, that sounds cool. Let's put a bit of drum bass on that to fatten it up. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of reverb on this choir here. And we'll put that before the drum bus. And then this is actually just going to cut like right at this part. But it's going to keep ringing out like that. Alright, sounds good. So, yeah, with the snare builds in this style, the key is like, definitely they're important, as you can hear, for building the energy. You just don't want to go too crazy with it. Like this one, it's mostly focused on the groove. It's not like... Yeah, it's not like some type of crazy thing. Like, it's just a little chill snare build here. Nothing super crazy. Okay, so next thing we're going to do here is we're going to make some white noise, actually. Like some white noise effects. I'm going to get operator, and we're going to make the first one here. So... this one is going to be just going into the break. We're going to make a long note here. I've got this operator track. We're going to switch the first oscillator to white noise, and then we're going to turn on this filter. We're going to switch it to a band pass. And then if we just automate that to go up and down at the right times, like so. There we go. We have a nice little sweep kind of transitioning there. Now we can work with that a little bit because we need to cut out some low end. I'll get a low or a high pass filter. And we're also going to put some reverb on that. This may seem a bit odd, but I'm also going to put some drum bass on that. It tends to help. Like when you get to the higher parts of the sweep, you can hear it. It just loses a lot of power. It feels like it's getting really thin. But this is how you get that really, really big kind of sweep, like you hear it in a lot of sample packs and stuff. So I'll put that over here as well. Like we'll use that. Let's use that halfway through the drop, but I'm going to make it not as long. So matter of fact, we can just do a new one here since we're doing this. I'm going to make it, see, it's going to be half as long as the other one was. So we'll put in another note. It doesn't matter which note you put in. That's the good thing about this because it's just going to be white noise. So we'll do that, and then that, and then that. And put that up to there. And there we go. We just have like a little sweep there. Now I'm gonna make another one. It's gonna be actually very similar. It's gonna be the same type of thing. A white noise sweep using operator. Just some white noise. Bandpass filter. This one's gonna be going like into the drop. So we'll make a long note again. And then we're gonna get this bandpass just automated to go up. And then back down. Cool, and then I'll just copy over the processing from that last one for the time being. And then with this one, what we're going to do is we're going to play around with some chorus on this, actually. I've used this technique a little bit here before. But if you put chorus on some white noise like this and start turning this feedback up, you can hear it create something really interesting. It's a good way to make something that isn't just like white noise, but still is like a sweep, if that makes any sense. I'm going to automate the rate. Like that, yeah, that's cool. We'll make it a little bit slower. Alright, sounds good. And then I'm going to copy this over to here for the ending of the first drop as well. Okay, cool. It's sounding pretty good. At this stage, I'm going to work with the drop a little bit. I'm going to actually play around with the sweep here. I think I'm just going to try. Like some kind of a fill here. Yeah, and then let's just make it sweep up like really quickly there. Actually, that's a cool idea. Like I can just make this. I'm gonna have to make these two separate notes, but that's easy. This is the kind of stuff I was talking about at the beginning though, when I was saying like adding like fills. You know, it's just making it a little bit more interesting than just saying like just cutting out the kick at the end of every 8 bars and trying to pass that off. Alright, let me see where this mix is hitting. I'm going to go to the loudest part, which is here, because this is when the most things are playing. Alright, so usually at this stage, like before mastering, you want to be hitting about -5 or -6, maybe -4. You can see right now we're hitting -2, so we got to turn all this down a little bit. There we go. And we can go through and mix this. A bit. I'm gonna put these stabs into a group. These sounds that I made. And even though they have their individual processing, I'm gonna put a bit of drum bus on them as a group and a little bit of reverb. This reverb's gonna be really short though. We're gonna turn the size down. Oh yeah, you can just make them sound a little bit stronger. Just turn the snare up a little. We'll turn this one up. Okay, sounding pretty good. I just put a little bit of drum bus on that clap to make it punch through a bit more. And definitely important to check the hi-hats. Like, you want to make sure that your hi-hats aren't too quiet. It can be easy to turn them down, but it's really important to get them like on top of everything like this. Let's turn everything up slightly. Okay, there we go. So the loudest we're getting there is about -5. So from here, we can do some mastering. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here again to this loudest part. Let's use this part actually, because then we don't have that sweep in the way. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to first put a little bit of saturation on the master here. And what we're going to do is we're going to turn this down a little bit on the output, and then we're going to turn the drive up a bit to maybe like there. As now you can hear it. Here's without this. And then with it, it's still a little bit quieter with it because I'm trying to get that output so it's neutral. But you can hear this is fattening everything up. It's really helping to tie it all together. It's just like how I put stuff on the low end bus and the percussion bus. It's like when you saturate everything like this, it makes everything much more cohesive and much more together. And also just makes everything hit a little bit harder. From there, we're going to get a little bit of compression. I'm going to turn off the makeup gain. We're going to turn up the attack as well, so this isn't messing with the transients of any of the sounds. And then we just compress away. Okay, so here's before this. And then after it. You can hear a little bit of a volume boost that I gave it. But also what it's doing is it's tying everything together a lot more. What compression does is it evens out the volume levels. Like on the most basic level, a lot of people say it squashes things. That's what it's doing. When you're squashing something, sonically speaking, you're just evening out the volume levels until you get to a point when it's too compressed and everything is too even. Like everything is at exactly the same volume. This isn't what we want here. So we just compress this a little bit. It's just compressing the peaks. By doing that just a little bit, again, it's evening out the volume levels more so than it is like actually messing up the dynamics or flattening out the volume levels. But it's really important because you can hear when I turn this off and turn it on, it's subtle, but everything just feels a lot more together with it. And then the last thing we're going to do here is I'm going to get a limiter, and we are going to just turn the gain up. And there we go. And so now we have, this is hitting 0 dB at the full professional loudness. And the only reason why we're using a limiter, it's just a clean gain boost. It's only doing a tiny bit of limiting. You can see if I get a utility and do the same thing, we'll put it up 3.5. So it's good, it's not clipping. And then all of a sudden, like in the right ear, it'll clip or something like that. So this is where the limiter comes in. It's just catching any kind of thing like that that could be a little bit tricky. Alright, sounding pretty good at this stage. Let's turn off this loop and hear the full track from start to finish. Alright, cool. Sounds sick. Well, there it is. How to make a Michael Bibi and PAWSA style tech house track from start to finish. So as always, guys, I hope you enjoyed. That's going to be it for this one. So make sure to let me know what you think of this video in the comments, and make sure to like this video. Just drop a like. It's so easy. It takes literally no effort. As well as subscribe and hit that little notification bell. Like I said in the beginning, you can get the full project file and samples and MIDI and presets and everything that you just saw me create in this video in the description. So make sure to check for that. And if you're a patron on Patreon, check there because it's already available. Thank you so much, guys, and I will see you tomorrow with another video.